皆さん、こんにちは。
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As was introduced, I am Baba, town mayor of Namie Town, Fukushima Prefecture. Tamotsu Baba. I'm given this opportunity, and I'd like to talk about the current state of affairs, as well as some signs toward reconstruction. It is indeed a great pleasure that I'm given this opportunity. Now, following the title slide, I'd like to talk about the current state of affairs of disaster in our town, as well as the challenges for the reconstruction. Now, what is a place like Namie Town? What kind of a town is it? I've shown you our town on the map of Japan. It is situated in Fukushima Prefecture in the eastern end, facing the Pacific Ocean. It is the eastmost place in Fukushima Prefecture. We have special produce for as long as 350 years. We have Obori Soma pottery, Japanese sake, 3 brand names. And we face Pacific Ocean, so we have all kinds of fish like sole, bass, and so forth. Last year, we won the Grand Prix in so-called B1 Grand Prix, which is the competition of ordinary day-to-day food competition. And our fried noodle won the first place. Dash Village is shown. Now there is a program called Dash Island on Nippon Television Network. Before that, there was a program called the Dash Village, but actually this place has the highest level of radiation currently. So the disaster situation of Namie Town. As of 3/11/2011, the 21,434 people, that is the population. They are evacuated, 14,000 evacuated within Fukushima Prefecture, 6,450 people evacuated outside the Fukushima Prefecture. And more than 600 municipalities have accepted our evacuees. We had 6 elementary schools, 3 junior high schools. So 9 schools were enough for the education of the village. But as of now, people have evacuated across the country. So 699 schools are where our children are learning. So they are scattered around all over. Also, the business operations in our town, SS Pharmaceuticals and Namie Nippon Brake, Hitatsu Kashusei, these were the companies listed on the first section of the Tokyo Stock Exchange. The gross domestic product, 60 billion yen. You see cars. We had only one national route running north to south, Sendai, connecting Sendai and Tokyo. We had north and south national road. National Route number 6, and to the west, the road Route 114 leading to Fukushima City. The places we can go in half an hour, but because of the congestion, it took 3 hours or 4 hours to evacuate. So this is the picture taken on the 11th of March 2011. Sorry, March the 12th, 2011. This is how people were evacuated in a school gymnasium. So this describes the situation immediately after the outbreak of the disaster. March 11, 1446, earthquake happened, major earthquake happened. So as far as the town government is concerned, it's an earthquake. there may be many houses totally destroyed or half destroyed. So from the mayor's office, immediately I went to the city center. 5-minute walk. I walked around and I observed the damage. And it was really, the water was erupting from a manhole, and then the water pipes had ruptures, and animals were coming to the roads, and people were out in the streets comforting and encouraging each other. As they were doing, J Alert. This is an alert system. This is an equipment for an immediate alert. J Alert sounded, and then it said big tsunami was coming. That was the information. So I immediately went back to my office, and then the countermeasure headquarters had to be established against earthquake and the tsunami. So evacuation orders and evacuation routes were decided as determined in disaster manuals. So before the arrival of tsunami waves, people had to evacuate. So I issued an order of evacuation. So during this time, the problem is this. There are two problems in this regard. The first point is noted in red on this screen. Sorry, not in red. 1636. The emergency cooling system for nuclear reactors, water injection became unfunctional. This is the incidents described in the item 1 of the Article 15 of the nuclear disaster law. But there was an information that the total station blackout, that's Article 10. So Article 10 and Article 15 based alerts were issued. This is what I heard afterwards. To all ministries and bureaucracy, the government agencies, that information was communicated, but it never reached us. It never reached us. So those people evacuating in order to help them from a tsunami, we were doing our utmost to help them, and we were doing the rescue work for the tsunami victims. And during that time, Article 15 based information and Article 10 based information did not reach us. I think this is indeed very grave, very serious. So this information never reached us. Then, on March 11, tsunami countermeasures we took. So the lives that could be saved were not saved because there were aftershocks and water was coming up from the ground. So we told ourselves that the next day, when morning comes, we will go and help them. So during the night time of the 11th, we stopped our rescue works. Then 5:44 on the morning of the 12th, Prime Minister's residence issued an order to have the evacuation within the radius of 10 kilometers from the nuclear power plant. This is the order or the instruction coming from the Prime Minister's residence. I thought I made a mistake. I never expected that nuclear accident would happen. I was totally inundated with what was called a safety myth. This is something that I have to do soul searching all the time. We had 200 strong town office employees, and no one ever expected that nuclear power plants would have something. Nobody asked the question, what's happening at the nuclear power stations? So much so, we were really the true believers of safety myths. So 5:44 from the Prime Minister's residence through television broadcast, I heard the press conference by the Prime Minister, and I really thought it was a blunder on my part. 10-kilometer radius where town office is located. 60% of the population resides there in that region. So these people had to be moved out of this circle of 10K radius. So 6:07, we convened the headquarters meeting to tell the residents to evacuate outside the 10K radius region. So we have used the communication trucks or cars and also the radio communication throughout the community to broadcast this instruction. Then, March 12th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 1536. 1536, the explosive sound reached us, the Unit 1 of Fukushima Daiichi. Many people heard the explosion. They were housed inside, so they did not hear the explosion. The plant was only very close by. It's only 10K distance between our town and the nuclear power plant. But the explosive sound was really strong, and the explosive sound was heard, enormous roar. So anyway, explosion happened, and we thought that there is no way. So we have to move outside the 20K or 30K radius. That's what we thought. Therefore, Tsushima is the place where we have the branch office. So we transferred our government function there. In the early evening, we have transferred all the government function to Tsushima branch office. So this shows you the chronology starting from March 12th to April, May. So this is the situation. So looking back, it was almost like a monster. Unit 2, Unit 4, Unit 3, all coming down. So we had to move out outside 40K, 50K radius. So we asked the Nihonmatsu to accept us, and we are still being evacuated. These are the photographs. So this shows you how things were. March 2011, earthquake happened, and we were scattered around across the country. So these are photos. This is a checkpoint. This is Ukedo Fisheries Cooperative's office, totally shattered. Ukedo region still fishing boats are grounded, and they are just abandoned. This is inside the town government, and this is my mayor's office. This is a JR Joban railway line. The grass is growing and the rails are covered. Rails are rusted. You see the rust color on the rails. And this is the cityscape of the town. Totally, the houses were destroyed and shattered, crumbling down. This shows you the state of affairs of disaster. 182 people lost their lives because of tsunami. As of now, 33 remains have not been recovered yet. The disaster-related death, 304, it says. But as of the end of January, 315 is the correct number. This number is much greater than the actual fatal death of the direct fatality because of tsunami. So there are more related deaths. The elderly people are dying. The whereabouts of the residents, 21,000 people. We have grasped the whereabouts, all the residents inside the prefecture, outside the prefecture. The numbers are shown. Again, this is the situation of the evacuation as well as the temporary housing situation. So these are the numbers telling you where they are living. Fukushima City, Nihonmatsu City, these are the two major cities where 8,500 people out of 21,000 are accepted in these two cities. So the permanent temporary housings were built in 31 places in these two cities. This shows you the distribution of the evacuees outside the Fukushima Prefecture, bar graphs. As I told you, 620 municipalities are accepting us. This shows you the distribution of homes and residences within the prefecture. As you can see, Fukushima City, Nihonmatsu, Koriyama cities, they are the main places where the inside prefecture evacuees are distributed. Soma City, Minami Soma City, and Iwaki City and the Nihonmatsu City. In these places, we are creating outside communities, and we would like to improve the outside environment as well as the housing conditions so that they can have more comfort and relaxation living in temporary housings. So we are emphasizing the improvement of the residential conditions. These are the photographs comparing our town before and after the disaster. We are known for cosmos beds, and it was the town flower. This shows you the Cherry Blossom Boulevard. This is Ukedo fishing port, and the salmon is coming up, and therefore this is how the salmon is fished. And this is called Hadaka Matsuri Festival. In lunar calendar New Year, we have a festival with the slogan of fire protection. So young people will be dressed only in underwear, and despite the cold water is covered to these young people. And this is for wishing the fire protection. Fire shouldn't break out. Now this is what we are now. As you can see, on the roads we have weeds, grass. Because of the earthquake and tsunami, some buildings are half destroyed, and they are not touched. This is Ukedo. This is the smokestacks of Fukushima Daiichi plant. So this is only 4 kilometers away from the nuclear power plant. As I told you earlier on, the fishing boats are grounded because of tsunami, and they are just left as they are. Debris is not really disposed of. There is no removal of debris yet from Ukedo area. As a town, we want to have our own idea of coping with the challenge of reconstruction. We have been facing this challenge of reconstruction. I use the half past tense because it's so difficult. First, we wanted to discuss what should be our way of facing this challenge of reconstruction. First, we wanted to start from defining what we mean by reconstruction. So as I told you, evacuation was totally scattered around over a very broad region. We used to have 7,600 households. Now we have 11,000 households. It means that it's distributed, it's scattered around. In other words, because of the workplace, father will remain within Fukushima, and then mother and children they are afraid of the radiation, therefore they evacuated to outside Fukushima. So it means a household is split into two. My family is like that. We used to have 6 family members. My son and wife and grandchildren are evacuating in Fukushima City, and I live with my mother and my wife. I live in Nihonmatsu, so my household was split into 2. So 7,600 households were split into 11,000 households. So family members are scattered. So Namie town's citizens, every single citizen of Namie, their life and their livelihood had to be protected by the town administration. That's the reconstruction of the livelihood of each citizen. It's not the question of go back or don't go back. According to the survey, as I will talk about the survey, there are an increasing number of people who are saying that they are not going back. Increasing number of people. So it's not the question of go back or don't go back. Wherever they are the citizens of Namie town. Therefore, every single person's life and livelihood had to be protected, and their life and livelihood had to be reconstructed. So that is the duty of Namie town administration. That was the first point of defining reconstruction. The beautiful homeland or beautiful Namie town as our homes, it has to be rejuvenated. It's not the question of go back or don't go back. We want to keep the treasures for all. We have to discharge the responsibility to carry on the responsibility that we carried on of the treasures for all. We have a person who is the chairman of the Reconstruction Planning Committee. The question was not go back or don't go back. The point was how we can protect the life and livelihood of Namie town citizens, every single one of them. That was the imperative for us. And under this slogan, the reconstruction plan was drafted. That is how we are facing this challenge of reconstruction. I hope you understand the basic stance of our reconstruction. Now the challenges for our town: reconstruction of livelihood, health management, healthcare, insurance. On the 12th of March, we fled to the northwestern direction. The radioactive plume came after us. It's a rare. March weather usually is the wind will blow from west to the ocean side. But on that particular day, it was the wind blowing from east to northwest direction. It was very rare, but it happened. And that was the unfortunate thing, the most unfortunate thing. Radioactive plume came up, and then radiation just fell upon us. So we are asking the government to securely looking after the health of every citizen. We issued the note handbook for everyone's health. Then work outside the home. Everybody lost his or her work. So by some means, we want to support their working in Namie as their home. So as I'm saying, the housing condition is very bad in temporary housings. So housing condition has to be improved very solidly. And indemnification and compensation, it's outrageous. Just think of it. We are not evacuating because we want to evacuate. Because of radiation, it's so scary, it's dangerous. That's why we had to evacuate. It's upon the order. The compensation is something like you should claim, you should request because we have the grace to pay you. This is the kind of attitude of paying a compensation. This is just outrageous. This is really the other way around. There is a panel for reviewing the compensation claims. It's an outrageous council. People came, the review panel members came to us. Do you think when? 2 years afterwards, the disaster. Last year in June, people came. They came to inspect the actual place. And I told them, it's outrageous. That's why I tell them outrageous. Despite the fact I say outrageous, the compensation standard was decided in August of 2011, when disaster broke in that year. So actual observation and inspection people came last year in the month of June. How do they understand the elements of a compensation? Not knowing the actual place, not seeing the actual place, how can they decide the level of compensation? So compensation decision is really out of whack. We have the constitutional Article 13 of Japanese Constitution to have the right to pursue happiness. We have a right to become happy. That is the right guaranteed under Article 13 of the Japanese Constitution. Those people never think of that. The right to exist, that is Article 25. Healthy and cultural minimum level of life must be guaranteed as a Japanese person under Constitution. Article 25, even Article 25, this is taken away from us. Please submit the documents. We will be graceful enough to pay. That's outrageous. So I want to raise my voice in saying that it is not. It is really the basic usurpation of the basic human rights. In order to restore our rights, we have to speak up. And this erroneous disposal of disaster and accident is something that we have to retort very vociferously. So it's a matter of peace of mind, not a simple matter of safety. That is the rebirth of our Namie as our homes. Monitoring, decontamination, these have to be done, but it is not making progress. So this is the situation. So decontamination will go ahead anyway. Radiation protection measures have to be introduced very solidly. Because of tsunami and aftershocks, infrastructure was destroyed. Of course, it has to be restored, and we have to improve the housing conditions. What about the doctors? What about the welfare agencies? That is the social, life-related infrastructure, which has to be restored. Current situation is such that we have nothing. From the situation of nothingness, we have to create something. It's difficult, but somewhat for the people who come back, we, administration, would like to proceed with our recovery and reconstruction. Last year, on the 1st of April, there was a redrawing of the zoning of the community. Vice Governor Uchibori explained that there are three areas which divide our community. As I mentioned, we had a survey of the intention of the residents. 18.8% want to go back. We can't go back. 37.5%. Can't make up my mind. 37.5%. This was done at the end of August last year. In February, when we conducted the survey, there were 38% of people who wanted to go back. But as time went by, the second life had to be started. So maybe I have to punctuate my life at this juncture, and we have to make a new life. A lot of people started thinking like that. That's why we have a small number of 18.8% of people who wanted to go home. So they are now made to a situation where they can't go back. It's a sorry state. But as a town government, as long as there are people who want to go back, as long as there are people like that, we have to work on the restoration of the infrastructure and the livelihood basis for the residents. At whatever the cost, we have to create the infrastructure and conditions to receive them. And then major programs that we have done, as well as challenges for rebuilding the lives, but I don't have much time. Compensation, indemnification, temporary housing, deemed temporary housing, health care, and the work assistance or business resumption assistance. How are they going to do it? It will be done gradually, but we are doing it. Regarding the resumption of the works, in Namie town, there are 5 business operations already opened, but they don't have any customers. No customers, but nevertheless, 5 operations started. 5 business units have resumed their operation. Health management, internal exposure and the thyroid test, as well as food testing. So thoroughly and completely, we want to do those. So I have only 1 minute to go. This is the reconstruction of Namie as our home. Major programs as well as challenges I have noted. So please have a look at those items. So infrastructure restoration, tsunami damaged area must be reconstructed. Tsunami region people, they don't have graveyards, so the headstones were washed away. So common cemetery could be fixed and repaired. So by Obon period of August this year, we want to upgrade the common cemetery. Now the challenges of the administration, we don't have manpower to do the work. So staff members are having hard time, but we are helped by the assistance from the rest of the prefectures in Japan. So we are doing barely. So these are the programs and projects that we have done hitherto. What are the programs provided to our residents? I'm showing photovision and information provision by way of photovision. This is Google Street View. So the townscape is videoed so that the computer created message is transmitted. This is live camera. This is the wide region live camera so that the entirety of the town can be watched from wherever. And then internal exposure inspection, whole body counter, thyroid test, and the place to chat. The Tamie residents can have a place to chat wherever they are in Japan. So I rushed through my presentation. I've given you lots of points. So we have many programs. So we are in a very tormented, hard time. So I'd like to solicit your understanding. And with that wish, I'd like to complete my presentation. Thank you very much.